What's up, everybody?
I'm Lamar.
And I'm Angela, and welcome to Lamar and Angela. This is our YouTube channel for sharing everything of our love, our laughter, and our learning as we begin our new life in Mexico. We're going to share with you our journey from being homeowners here in Maryland to living life abroad in Mexico. So if you're interested in seeing and being a part of that journey, subscribe to our channel below because we've got lots in store. But today, I want to bring some information and just share part of our initial journey in terms of how to get your spouse on board when they're not on the same page about moving abroad. So babe, why don't you tell them a little bit about us as a couple?
We've been married 18 years. Been together about 20. We have 3 children, 2 dogs.
2 dogs.
And we are currently living in Southern Maryland, Southern Prince George's County. I'm an IT professional, and I am a avid motorsports fan and RC racer.
Yes, yes.
And my wife enjoys crafts. She's a ordained elder in the AME church.
And about to be doctoral candidate. All right. Hallelujah. About to graduate. So I'm excited about that portion of our life. So how long would you say that I've been talking about moving abroad? And do you feel that's an accurate depiction that you weren't initially on board?
Yes, that would be accurate, that I was not on board with that. I didn't at the time feel the need to.
So how long?
Since maybe 2009, 2010, I guess.
2009, I think for me, I flirted with the notion, but it was just a fantasy back in 2009, 2010. I think for me, it really became something that I was serious about. Sandy Hook.
Oh, yeah.
2012, Sandy Hook, because Ben, our son, was in 2nd grade at the time. Gabrielle was in 1st.
Right.
And when they shot up the babies' classrooms here in the United States,
and then didn't do anything about it,
I was like, wait a minute, that's a problem. Then 2013 was Trayvon Martin.
Right.
And our oldest, it was 13 at the time, I think, or somewhere around that time frame. But she was that age range, and I thought, whoa. So I think for me, I didn't get like really serious, like really including that as a part of our possible life until around that time. But you weren't quite on board. Why? Tell me about what that process was.
Well, at that time, I didn't see the actual need to move that far away or to another country. Plus, there were some fears for me with regard to moving to an area, and it would be more out of my comfort zone. I don't like moving too much anyway. However, as we have been together, we've moved a little bit.
True.
And each time it gets a little easier. However, I just didn't really feel motivated for that.
True. When we got together, I'm an itinerant elder in the African Methodist Episcopal Church, so I can be moved at any time. So that was always something that was cool for me. I was fine with that type of thing. But for you, staying in one place meant stability?
Home, stability. I grew up in the same home. Moved there when I was probably, maybe
2 months old, your mom said?
Not even that. I was weeks old. And they lived in that house until they eventually moved out and passed on. So that symbolized stability, home, memories that were built there of my childhood growing up. So,
and for me, we moved around a lot, and home for me was not necessarily the structure, but home was the people.
Yeah.
And so that was a different kind of frame of mind. But when would you say, oh, but there was also the other issue of our parents,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That was another sticking point
yeah.
as to
Parents were
not ready to move.
getting older. My mom was ill in that time frame with some illnesses, and she passed on in 2015.
But before that,
Before that,
my mom was well, my
yes.
dad was well, his parents were well,
and because the only grandchildren are with us, we aren't the only ones that have children. My mom, my dad, her parents, wanted to spend as much time as they, could with, their grandchildren. And so it would not have been a good thing to do to our parents to deprive them of their grandchildren, because they at the time were getting up in age, and I was a late bloomer when it came to getting married and us having kids. So, and my siblings don't have kids, so that's
so us having the only grandkids was a major factor for us. But as you mentioned, your mom passed away in 2015.
Right.
I still miss her. 2017, my dad passed away.
Right.
2019, my mom passed away, and then just 2020, last year, your dad passed away. So was that part of what happened in 2020 that kind of made you start looking at things differently?
Well, that kind of released me a little bit, because that would be one of the reasons why I was sticking around the area, is to have easy access to my dad. But then when he passed on, that now I don't have a reason to be here in Maryland or in the United States. And then the other thing that started to happen was the George Floyd, Trump, 4 years of Trump, the mishandling of COVID, just a whole host of negative things that were happening politically here in the United States. And it just kept building up. And the trial for George Floyd, the tensions behind that, the protests, Kyle Rittenhouse, and then recently Kyle Rittenhouse, not even being convicted. Just a whole host of negative things that have happened politically.
So that brought you to feeling a little bit looser and freer.
Well, and that my enchantment with the United States had dwindled. I didn't feel that it held the majestic, image.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean,
people do kind of look at the American dream as one of those things.
I lost my taste with the American dream. I mean, I'm not going to go into it, but I mean, it's as far as real estate purchasing, things like that.
Yeah,
it's just not what they make it out to be.
So, in terms of looking at a change of mindset, what would you recommend? Because there's someone else out there who's probably listening who is in the same boat, not on the same page as their spouse, but you eventually did come around, because guys, this has been since, he says 2010, it's 2021. Right. So it's been a long time that I've been talking about this, or really wanting to go. So, but what would you say in terms of advice on how to get on board?
Don't believe what everyone says about a particular country that you're looking to go to. Do your research. Find out the things that are there, the do's, the don'ts there, the culture, climate, what you like, amenities, will it your happy place.
I think that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. Being clear on what you need in terms of a location, because that was something that we both had to come to terms with and be clear on what kind of place would we be open to. Lamar and I both work from home in terms of or would be working from home if we were overseas, and would need to have stable, solid internet, stable power, things like that. So moving to a location where the power or infrastructure was kind of on sometimes, off sometimes, that was never going to cut it.
No,
wasn't going to cut it. So we knew that would be something that we couldn't have or had a must have.
It's fine if the area has a very traditional way about it with regard to its culture, but also have a underpinning of modern technology and conveniences.
Right. So us being in the middle of a hut in Zimbabwe was not going to cut it for you.
And especially if you're going to be a digital nomad. Of course, digital nomads know this, that you need, stable internet, you need stable power grid. You can't be offline for, half the day and expect to be productive, or your employer, being happy with the fact that you're not online. So
another thing that besides the infrastructure or the quality of life, I would call it, was also the cost too. We were looking at finding a location that was going to bring us more bang for the buck.
Right. Yeah.
Because it made no sense to move. We live here outside of Washington D.C., and it's mad expensive here to live. So we didn't see any point in moving unless it was going to bring us a better quality of life.
Right.
What about safety?
Safety, that is something that you need to take in consideration, and also research, find out about how they handle certain things, gun control, immigration, those kind of things, and with regard to just local crime, things like that, and find out for yourself. Go visit, take a trip, take a look and see.
That was important too. That was something that we did when we went on a trip to Mexico just recently. This summer, we took the kids, and just the atmosphere felt different for us, not having to have that police worry that you would have, like you're driving down the road, and you've driven in other countries, Ethiopia, the Bahamas, Costa Rica. We've driven in lots of other places and don't have that same kind of type of looking over your shoulder.
Right, exactly.
Right. And then the other issue that was huge for us in terms of selecting a location that we both could agree on was for retirement.
Yeah.
Retiring for us involves being able to finally do those things, all of the hobbies and things that we love to do. He mentioned that I'm a crafter, but he also likes to build RC remote control cars. And so I knew that if we looked at a location, it had to have an RC track. That was very important. So places that did not have an RC track were completely wiped off the table. So that was something that we had to come to an agreement, or not even come to an agreement, because I knew that this is something that's important to him, and that in order for him to feel comfortable, I needed to make sure that was there already built into the cake. Right. The other thing that I looked at in terms of that was the location in terms of weather. I am not a cold weather girl, not at all. And I actually would prefer to be on the beach, but because of the locations of some of the RC tracks are not near the beach in Mexico, I was willing to make a compromise on that.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome, babe. What else would you say would be something in terms of a recommendation?
On the other side, for whichever, it could be either spouse that's apprehensive, is to have patience. and understanding where they're coming from, and have conversations, but not be pushy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because I understood for you that this was a stretch. I mean, it's a stretch for me too, y'all. Don't get it twisted. This is a stretch for your girl to move abroad and live in a completely different culture, completely different language. It's a stretch for me as well. But I knew that for him it was more of a stretch,
Yeah.
and so just being patient with that whole process to conceive of a notion or something that's bigger than what you typically would do.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, do your own research, join some groups, watch videos, Facebook groups, or whatever, watch videos.
That helps.
Yeah,
That helps. Look at some communities, some Facebook communities that have boots on ground there, so that can help him establish, or your spouse establish, some connections, so that when you move to that new place, you won't be feeling alone, that you at least have already started the process of making friends
right.
there.
Yeah.
And then I would also probably say one other thing that is huge for us was that there are certain items that Lamar is not going to be able to travel out of this country without.
Right. I've curated over 20 years of tools for my RC hobby, things like that, and those things are irreplaceable.
Right.
And some of them are homemade, so those are going to come with me.
Yeah, because the notion of just selling off all his stuff,
right,
and starting all over again was going to be way too much,
right,
to ask. So
yeah, and it brings me enjoyment. So it's not like it's frivolous or anything like that. It brings me enjoyment, and I'm glad that she understands it. I think that I remember when we were in our first few years, she made the comment, that she said I had a healthy hobby, which it is. It's fun. Guys get together and have a good time. So.
Yeah, and I know that when we eventually get to the place of retiring, that is part of what I would imagine our life to look like. I can imagine him being able to have his RC hobbies and being able to build his cars and then race them and win trophies and competitions and things like that. And
right.
And to just say that we're going to move and you're not going to have access to those types of things, that wouldn't have been fair.
Yeah, no, that would have been something that would have been a great disappointment for me.
Right. And so consider bringing some of the creature comforts that your spouse has. Some of the creature comforts, not the frivolous things, like
right.
I enjoy my my coffee in this particular fashion or what have you, but the things that really make life livable. Yeah. So we hope that was something that can bless you. We hope that you too, as a couple, will find your way and really sit down and have a heart-to-heart on what the two of you need in terms of making this leap. And we encourage you to make it, because I am absolutely so proud of this one right here, that he was actually able to stretch. And when he said that we can go, he caught me by surprise. I'm still shocked. But it's a great thing. And so we encourage you to join us as we make this trip. We're planning what? For 2022?
2022.
Summer of 2022?
Yep.
And we're taking the kids.
Yep.
Our 16 and 15-year-old. So they're going to be coming along for this journey as well.
Yep.
So we encourage you to follow along with the Martins and join us as we do this thing together, y'all.
Yep.
Any last words, babe?
No, just hang on to your hats.
We doing it, y'all.
Yep.
All right. Talk to you guys.
See ya.
Bye. Hey guys, wait. Before you go, one last piece of advice for how to get your spouse on board if they're not on the same page. Oftentimes, some of the issues that are keeping them from agreeing to moving overseas has mostly to do with imagination and things that they've cooked up in their head to be bigger issues than they really are. So address the elephant in the room. Sit down with your spouse and address each of those issues one by one. Is it that they're worried about how can we pay for this? How will we afford this? What will we do for money? Sit down with your spouse and show how the bag can be secured and address each of those financial concerns. Is it that they may not necessarily want to live abroad for the rest of their life, but maybe open to doing a couple years overseas? So that's a whole different scenario. Instead of having to maybe sell off the house, maybe you guys will rent the house out and then go overseas and enjoy for a period of time and then come back and return. Is it the issue of friends? I don't have any friends overseas. Where will I make friends? Lamar already mentioned, join some Facebook groups, join some other expat communities and allow them to be able to make some connections there, to be able to not feel alone. Is it they're concerned about family, having no access to their family? Maybe consider shortening the distance in terms of how far away you are from the family. Maybe not going over to the other side of the world in Thailand or something of that nature, but maybe staying a little closer in that hemisphere. And then lastly, make sure that you sit down together and identify each and every one of those concerns and address them. Don't just shrug them off. Address them one by one. Make sure that the person is clear on what their reservations are so that you can address those reservations one by one. We're praying for you. Hope to see you soon. Thanks for coming in. Bye.